Welcome to this channel. It's a pleasure to see you today again. Today's talk is going to be quite different from what we covered last time. Last time we were able to have a chance to discuss density functional theory and its basic implementation in most ab initio codes. Today we are going to focus on how to install SIESTA-PSML both in parallel and serial versions. One thing that you need to understand in this particular code is that Siesta is no longer on Launchpad. Siesta moved on GitLab. On GitLab, the developers are working hard to be able to update the code regularly, and that means that it's up to us to be able to keep up with the pace of the developers. One thing that again I also want to mention regarding this particular code is that it doesn't have this special feature of the configure make install like what we see in other kind of codes. This kind of code, as I'm speaking here, I've shown here some 4 kind of libraries. That is the lib.psml, the libgridxc, the xmlf90 and the libxc are going to be very important for us to be objective in installing this particular SIESTA-PSML. Without these particular 4 libraries here, we will not be able to install SIESTA-PSML successfully, whether in serial or in parallel kind of setup. There are 2 ways of installing this kind of libraries. The first way is employing what you call the SIESTA bundle or employing what you call the ESL bundle. These bundles are actually automated in such a way that they can be able to manipulate and install this kind of libraries on a single click. The second way is to install these particular libraries manually. So in this particular talk, I am going to install SIESTA-PSML in a serial version, but employing the manual approach, whereby I'm going to be able to download these particular libraries, and I will show you where to download these particular libraries. I'm going to be able to place the links for these libraries on the comment section down here. What happens is that I prefer the manual kind of installation, in the sense that I have a lot of degree of freedom, in that it's a bit easy for me to choose the kind of version of the library that I want. Unlike if you're limited in the kind of the automation of the ESL bundle and also the SIESTA bundle, although you can be able to still edit some make files and be able to get whichever kind of tarables you wish in those particular bundles. So that said and done, I'm going also to be able to show you how you're going to install Siesta in parallel, but in the parallel mode we're going to employ what you call the SIESTA bundle. So I'll do the manual installation of Siesta libraries on my local machine, and again show you how to employ the SIESTA bundle to automate the whole process so that you're able to install Siesta whether in parallel or in series. So there's no worry about that. So that's said and done. One thing that we also need to understand here is that we need to be able to familiarize ourselves with this kind of libraries here. What is libxc? Libxc is simply a library for exchange and correlation functionals. What is xmlf90? It is simply a suite to handle XML in Fortran. What is this lib.psml? It's also a library that provides an API for passing files. libgridxc is a library to compute the exchange and correlation energy. As I said earlier on, without these particular libraries here, we cannot be able to compile the PSML version in any way, whether series or in parallel. So I'm going to take you straight to the terminal and we see what you're going to do. Now here I've already downloaded the files that I want us, the libraries that we need to be using. That is, the first one is simply the libgridxc, you can see it's here, and the lib.psml, and the libxc and the xmlf90. The first procedure, you can be able to follow this from the slides that I'm going to share on the link down here, is to simply have a working zone. So in this case, I'm going to work on the desktop, but on top of my desktop, I'm going to have a special folder or a directory that I'm going to call lib. So inside this particular lib, I'm going to place all these particular libraries here that are going to be essential for me to install my SIESTA-PSML. Installing libxc takes plenty much of time, and I've installed it earlier before I came to this particular kind of talk. And if you want to know that libxc is already installed, you simply come inside gfortran here, as I'll show you, and you check inside lib. You will see that I have this particular kind of libxc.a, and I also have what you call libxc f90 .a. It's actually here. That this is a signature that we've actually been able to install this particular code library successfully. So I'll take you straight to the second library that we need to be installing, that is the xmlf90. When you go to the slides that I'm going to provide to you people, I'm going to be specifying the different versions of these particular libraries that I've worked with. I'm working on some other libraries here due to some historical reasons, and you'll see why. So I want us to install now this xmlf90. It's a bit straightforward to install xmlf90. So I'm going to unzip it. Then I'll simply have it's already there. So you simply go inside xmlf90. As you can see, I'm already inside xmlf90. So what I do here, I simply make under directory, call it gfortran, okay? Then we go inside the gfortran in this particular case. Then I simply perform a configuration in this particular case. And I point to where I have my gfortran. So in this case, I have it on this particular desktop. So I'll simply go there inside lib, and I have gfortran there. So I simply have that. I'm already compiling my lib, the xmlf90. Okay, it's straightforward. So I'll simply proceed with my compilation in this case. But one thing as it does that, as you're going to do, because remember I've actually skipped, not even skipped, but I already did earlier on the basic installation of libxc. When you're trying this kind of tutorial, please put on the comment section and tell me how long did your libxc take to install, because I find mine taking really plenty much of time, and that's why I didn't do it earlier on. I didn't do it in this particular tutorial. I had to do it early before I came to this particular tutorial. So that is xmlf90 is already done. So I'll simply finalize on the installation of this particular kind of thing, and it's done. That's the beauty. So how do you know that your xmlf90 is successful on installation? You simply come back. There's this special folder as gfortran here, and go inside lib. If you go inside lib here, you should be able to see libxmlf90.a. It is here, libxmlf90.a. That is a signature that your library has been successfully configured, right? So the next library we're going to install in this particular work is the libpsml. So already done with the two libraries, that is the libxc and the xmlf90. So let us now install the libpsml. I already have the file here. So my libpsml is here. I'm going to compress it. But one thing I didn't mention was the following: that these terms or the commands I'm employing here, that is minus zxvf, it's just good enough to mention what they are for starters, right? So the Z tells star to uncompress the files, okay? Then the X tells star to extract the files. The V is simply verbose, right? And the F tells star that you're going to give you a file name in this particular case. As simple as that. Good. So after I've done my uncompression, I'll simply go inside lib.psml. In this case, the procedure sounds to be the same, so I'll simply make my dir gfortran there in that case, and I go inside gfortran. Then I'll simply again perform a configure in this particular case, but you need to be careful because this is a bit different. Is equals to, again, my path, that's home. I'm working with the desktop on what you call lib, then I'm having gfortran there, but in this case I need to compile it with my pre-installed XML F90, which is actually located. We now need to give the path of my XML F90, should be somewhere home. Then I need to go to the desktop. So you need to be very careful with this kind of commands and the spaces involved. At times they can be able to mess you big. So gfortran, okay, perfect. So we are already installing lib.psml, perfect. So let's wind up on that. Looks good for sure at the start, because many people have been getting this kind of errors, and I'm not seeing errors on my end here. That means that you should be able to work also on your side in a very simple way. So I'll simply wind up on that, and we're done. So how do you know that you've successfully installed lib.psml? Again, you will simply go back. Let me get some good space here. So go inside this gfortran here. Inside gfortran, and go inside lib. Okay, if you go inside lib, you should be able to see lib.psml.a. So we search for lib.psml.a, which is actually the first one here. So that is lib.psml.a. That is a signature that our library has been well configured. Okay, so you see these things, they're simply fun as we do them. So the next library that I need to be installing is simply the libgrid.exe. So again, I'll simply enter my libgrid.exe somewhere here. It's already done. So again, I go inside my libgrid.exe in this particular case here, and again I make a directory as gfortran. Okay, remember we're doing the fortran on all those particular directories. Okay, now in this case I need to copy a file which is just one step behind, known as extra, in the folder known as extra, and the file is fortran.mk. I need to copy this file here. Okay, so once I copy that file, I need to open that file and perform some addition. So in this case, I'm going to change on this particular file that I've opened. I need to unblock. When you check out this particular region here for the libxc root, it needs to get the exact root where I installed my libxc. Okay, and if I remember well, my libxc was simply installed on home, right? Then James, then desktop. Okay, in that case, if I remember well, then I did lib, and I remember I had gfortran. Okay, yours will be of course different. Yeah, so once I'm done with that, I simply close that particular file. Then I need to perform an execution here in the src that is going to perform a configuration. the case. I'm already done. So I think I need to come up for people to see it well. So I need to perform the case. Now I need to compile this with libxc, okay, in that manner, but also with MPI. Okay, you need to be very careful here and observe the spaces that I'm putting also. Prefix, it's home, James, desktop, lib, gfortran, okay. Then no sh build, right? Good, looks good. So we're compiling our libgridxc. So I'll talk about something there, because at that particular point is where you're going to differentiate between installing this particular code in parallel or in serial version. So here, if I need to install this code in parallel, I need to place this particular one here, so that I do MPI with MPI is equals to 1. But since I'm doing in a serial kind of installation, then I'm leaving it blank. 0 is simply equals to that. So how do you know that you've successfully installed libgridxc? You simply go back and check in your gfortran directory inside lib. You'll be able to see what you call libgridxa inside. Should be inside. It's not here. Should be here. So just a minute. Sorry for that. Yeah, inside serial, and I go inside lib. Okay, no, I think about, yeah, it's here. Perfect, it's good. Yeah, so this is the libgridxc.a. This is also a very good signature that we've managed to successfully install. We managed to successfully install libgridxc. Okay, and I've already talked how to differentiate whether installing in parallel or installing in series. But of course, if you go through my slides, I'm going to be showing you that how that is simply done in a very simple way. So if we have all these 4 libraries well installed the way they are, that implies that you can now be able to confidently proceed and install our Siesta. So we are also going to bring our Siesta code at this particular juncture here, and let's see how it's going to work. So we need to download SIESTA-PSML. It's very easy for us to download that. You see, it's actually on Launchpad. I'm picking the version on Launchpad, Siesta, but remember that this is not updated yet. PSML, right? I think I just need to try the whole. It's simply PSML support, if I can remember well. Yeah, it actually is here, so the code is here with us. So this is the code you're going to pull. So that is SIESTA-PSML. I'm going to have it there. Perfect. Okay, so I'll bring this particular code here, but I need to be careful, so I'm going to bring it here from the downloads. Okay, that's the code I want us to install. So one thing that you need to be careful is that you need to really understand where you saved or where you install all those particular libraries, because Siesta is supposed to be reading that. So let's see. So I'll simply unzip again. Okay, I simply go inside Siesta in this particular case. Now here in Siesta, before I proceed, I'm going to there are many things that you need to be careful in this particular case here. Okay, there are extremely many things, and there are many directories that you need to be careful. There's a directory known as docs that contains the basic kind of implementations and some other few relevant documentation of the code. We have what you call the OBJ, or the object directory, which is very, very important. And the object directory is where we are going to install, or where we're going to place our Siesta executable. We have another very serious directory here. I call it a very holy directory, in the sense that it actually contains the coding of this particular kind of a code. And in fact, my advice would be you shouldn't touch the SRC directory unless you really know what you're doing, because of course when you're going to work with some kind of constraints and some other kind of things in the system, of course you're going to be touching the SRC and editing some few files in the SRC, which is allowed, but try to be very careful when you are working with that those particular kind of changes in the SRC. We also have what you call the util directory. I'm just mentioning some very important directories in this particular section. And util directory is actually very important because it contains all the post-processing executables. If you want to obtain the density of states, if you want to obtain the band structure, if you want to obtain anything, there are lots of files that have been made by very clever people in this util directory. Okay, so those are just a few things to mention about this particular code here. So let's go inside our object directory, and we're going to make we're going to make a directory called serial, because I'm installing this code in serial. Okay, of course, if you're going to install the code in parallel, you can also make it make a directory called it parallel. Other people may try to install, or they will install both kind of versions, whether serial or parallel at the same time. So I'll simply go inside my serial. I think let me go up slightly for people to see. So I'll go inside serial in this case, and inside serial I simply perform this and access my SRC and copy the set from the SRC and compiling the OBJ here. In this case, I think I'm done. So the next step will be to simply copy the g400.make in this particular directory here. This g400.make is a very important file that is supposed to be pointing, and you really need to edit this file to link it to where you installed your libraries. In this case, I made for us a simple arch.make file from this particular thing. I think I'll need to bring it here. It's actually on the desktop. I call it serial arch.make. It's here. I'm going to share this with you. So I'll simply copy this serial.make into what you call arch.make. Okay, but if you don't have the serial.make, just copy the g400.make into arch.make and perform some little editing. So let's check how the arch.make looks like. Okay, of course we need to be careful. I already done the editing here. As you can see here, I'm pointing the PSML. Where did I install the PSML? I'm showing where I installed the XML of 90. I'm also showing where I installed my libgrid.exe, but the path for libgrid.exe, not really. Yeah, I need to edit this part slightly for libgrid.exe. Okay, so I'll call this one serial. Okay, perfect. So let's make it. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so as it does that, I think it's important that I should be able to mention this as it continues working, that we've also been able to prepare a set of a tutorial here in form of slide that you can be able to go through. It's very easy. Let's discuss this in the comment section to be able to see how you can be able to install Siesta using the Siesta bundle. I don't prefer working the ESL bundle because the ESL bundle comes with lots and lots and lots of other libraries that may just may actually consume more space for no good reason. So the Siesta bundle is a bit straightforward in the sense that it only selects some few kind of libraries that Siesta is going to pick. Okay, so I did this kind of demonstration on CentOS. Hopefully it may also work on your side. And as you can see here, we were able to obtain all these particular 8 required kind of libraries. So it's very easy for you, and I've also been able to write the steps here for us. If you want to go through, you can be able to go through this. So it's going to be very easy. We also acknowledge our strong relationship with Javier Junquera, who is a Siesta core developer. So hopefully, let's see if the code is done or not. It should be able to wind up. I think it's evolving very, very well. And at that particular point, we should be able to see if we've been able to successfully install Siesta or not. Okay. So these slides are going to be shared just under this video. So don't need to have any worry. And here we have simply followed these same steps. If you go through this particular simple slide here that I'm also going to share, it's actually on my GitLab, so you can be able to follow this kind of instructions here that we've written for you to be able to see if you can be able to survive and install. So this is where I was giving a difference or a basic differentiation when it comes to installing CS in parallel or CS in series. So these are things that you should be able to do. So this is how I made the arch.make file. I've tried to illustrate here, and yeah, now of course here we are simply highlighting a couple of things that of course if you're already done with the installation of SIESTA-PSML, then what follows next is simply to proceed and to be able to see where you're going to get your pseudo potential from, and the good well-tested database that you can be able to get your pseudo potential is simply the pseudo dojo. The pseudo potentials here are a bit well tested, and you can be able to employ them straightforward. But again, if you wish to make your own pseudo potentials, just like what we are doing at the moment, it's advisable that you can be able to employ what you call the atom code that works very well with Siesta. And in the atom code, you should be able to learn that atom code is one of the most old codes, and the input file of this particular atom code does not change in any way. It doesn't change due to some historical reasons, because it was written I think with Fortran 44 or something of that sort. Yeah, so it's a very old code, and it's very, very strict. Those of you who have tried playing with the atom code in generating the pseudo potentials in Siesta, you will agree that with me it's not a very simple code to work with. So I think the thing here is still evolving. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully it should be able to be done. Yeah, it's moving well. But again, one thing that you need to be able to understand is that even if you're going to use the PSML version of Siesta, and you're also going to employ with the .psml psml pseudopotentials, when you start the run of any kind of a system, the code is designed in such a way that it generates .psf pseudopotentials automatically. So in the same directory that you're running in the calculations with Siesta.psml Siesta-PSML pseudopotentials, good, that's nice, it's done successfully. So we have the executable here. So what I was saying was that if you perform any kind of a calculation with the .psml pseudopotentials and you're using Siesta-PSML, then at some particular point you're going to end up in the same directory that you're working in. You're going to end up with what you call .psf pseudopotentials. So the code is written in such a way that can be able to convert automatically from .psml to .psf, right? So let's see. How do you know that you're going to have a successful thing? So look at that. That's so beautiful, right? So we're already having Siesta here, and you're being told that you're having Siesta in serial version, and it's actually SIESTA-PSML, right? That is very interesting, and some few kind of architectures here that are also very important to all of us. So that is how we're going to install Siesta. And for sudo dojo, it's straightforward. You can simply go online here, and you can be able to select whichever flavor that you want from this sudo dojo website, and I think it's going to be useful to all of us. So thank you very much for listening to me. See you next time. Let's discuss in the comment section as we proceed. Let me know if you have any kind of troubles when it comes to installing this kind of codes, especially when you want to install Siesta in parallel. It can be a bit cumbersome. So let's discuss in the comment section here, and please remember to subscribe to my channel and keep on getting some latest updates. See you next time, and bye.